All right, so this is part two of our cross country road trip. This is when we were heading up to San Francisco. This was the next stop on our trip. We got there late at night and checked into the hotel, and then we had one full day of exploring. So we just kind of did a little bit of walking around in the downtown area and by the Fisherman's Wharf. Walked around, just took in some of the beautiful architecture of these homes. Loved these flowers right here. I thought they were absolutely beautiful. And then while we were there, I had to see the Mrs. Doubtfire house. I love that movie growing up. And it wasn't very far from where we were staying and kind of walking around, just exploring the area. So I got these pictures here in front of that house. These homes here, they are from the opening to the show Full House. There was a little park right there. So, of course, I had to get a picture of that because I also grew up watching that show. The next thing we did is we took an Uber and we went over to a place. It's called Baker Beach. It's like a mile-long beach. It is a little bit of a walk, and then you have to climb some rocks and stuff. But it gives you these amazing views of the Golden Gate Bridge. So we went there. The weather went from cloudy to clear and then back to cloudy. It's kind of quick moving in and out. But I was able to get my drone out here and get some really cool footage of the Golden Gate Bridge. We hung out here for probably, I would say, an hour and a half, just kind of walking around, taking in all the different viewpoints. And the walk down to the beach itself was also very pretty. The trail went through some vegetation, and there was a really neat area. I'm not sure what it used to be, but it was kind of like it was concrete. It reminded me of maybe like it was a basement to a building or something. I really don't know. But I guess they were having some kind of party there. Everybody was starting to arrive. It was younger people. There was a DJ there, blasting some music. People were bringing drinks and stuff like that. Great place to have a little party. I'm not really sure what exactly was going on. We didn't really stop and ask anyone. But we really enjoyed spending some time here, just checking out the Golden Gate Bridge, because that was an absolute must when going to San Francisco. I will say, though, the Uber ride, the driver scared the absolute crap out of me. He was so aggressive and driving so fast. And the air freshener he had in his car was so strong, and he had the windows rolled up. I thought I was going to puke. But other than that, the experience that day was a good one. It just, that one moment in the day, I did fear for my life for a brief minute there. These pictures here are along the walk down to the beach that I was talking about. It was really pretty with all the vegetation, and there weren't that many people. I don't know, it is a bit of a walk, and there is some stairs to climb and an incline, and like I said, there's some rocks and stuff. So I don't know if maybe that's why it wasn't so busy, or if there was just something going on that kept people away from it. I'm not sure. But after we did that and we got the Uber ride back to our car, then we went over. We drove through the Castro district and just kind of walked around there for a few minutes, just to experience it, since it is a significant part of San Francisco's history. After we finished with the Castro district, we got in the car and we drove across the bridge to get this viewpoint right at sunset. There was a little area you could park and kind of walk around. It was pretty congested, but it provided amazing views of the bridge with the sunset. And this is where our brunch for that day. So I can't remember the name of the place, but the food was really good. It was just very small and crowded in there. And then I took this picture here. This is just when we hit our 4,000 mile mark on our way over to Yosemite, which was our next stop on the trip. So this was the drive starting into Yosemite. Right away, we knew it was just going to be absolutely incredible. The scenery was just gorgeous. I loved all the evergreens, the water along the roadway. This was, I would say this was probably maybe my second favorite place that we went to on the trip. I will say, though, it was very, 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 very busy, which is a given. But like places like this was just pulling off the road to take this in. There were so many spots to pull off, take in the scenery, the different waterfalls, just the rock cliffs. It was so gorgeous. We did drive through one of the campgrounds too. I would love to camp there sometime, but I would assume that it is pretty hard to get into those campgrounds. They were definitely absolutely full when we drove through. So this was one of the hikes that we did in the park. Really, it was pretty much our only hike. There were a couple other spots we pulled off and just did a short little walk. But this was probably, I guess, the only real hike that we did. I can't remember how long it was. It wasn't that long. But we went and you could go right up to the waterfall right below it. This one wasn't very busy. There may have been 20 or so people at the bottom of the waterfall. I'm kind of exploring, but it wasn't that bad. But the views, along the walk, this waterfall, it was just absolutely gorgeous. The water flow, I mean, of course, as you can see, there was some water flow. It had been fairly dry, so I think this is probably on the lower end of the water flow on these waterfalls. I'm not totally sure, but I know I've definitely seen some pictures and videos where they were a little more significant, but it still provided just incredible views with the trees and just seeing that. That was behind us as we were walking back, and I just kept turning around to take it all in. And then this was leaving the park. We stayed right before sunset and did this drive out of the park. It was a little bit intimidating driving the road leaving out of the park once it got dark, because it is very windy. So just keep that in mind if you do go. It was a little bit nerve-wracking for us, but well worth it for the scenery. These photos here, this was on the drive after Yosemite going to Las Vegas, which was our next stop. But we pulled over to just stretch our legs, get some fresh air, get some sun, just, kind of relax in the sun a little bit. And I thought, well, I'll get my drone out because I thought it was really pretty. I figured if I could get my drone up and get some pictures, of the hills, that would be a pretty cool. So we just pulled off the side of the road here, as you can see, and kind of walked around, killed a little bit of time, and flew my drone around. And then as you come into Vegas, there is a place, it's called Seven Magic Mountains. It's like an art installation that they put out basically just in the middle of the desert. So we stopped there. That was kind of on my list of must-see things to do. So this is when we stopped there. It wasn't that busy. There were, several people, but it actually wasn't as busy as I thought it was going to be. But I thought this was really cool, and I was able to fly my drone. And I feel like the drone shots really kind of showcase this artwork, because it's literally just out in the middle of nothing, it seems like. And you've just got these bright colored rocks stacked up. I thought it was really cool to see that in the drone footage. So this here is our condo that we rented, that we got in Vegas. As you can see, we had a really good view of the new sphere that they put in. We met my mom and my sister here. They flew out to meet us. So we went to downtown Vegas first, down on Fremont Street, and just kind of walked around. I wanted them to see this part right here. I think that's so cool down there, how they do that. Of course, it is a little wild down there, but it's as wild as you want it to be, basically. Everybody's just doing their own thing, making the experience what they want out of it. And then we walked around to some of the different hotels there and the casinos. One of my favorites, I do believe, is the Bellagio, because I love this right here was the conservatory. We walked around in here. It was pretty busy, but I mean, you can see why, because to me, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I definitely wanted my mom to see this because it's just not something that we have anywhere here close to home to take in. So we went here, we kind of walked around. We went to the Venetian, kind of walked the strip and had dinner. It was like 114 degrees this day that we were walking around in Vegas. So it was one of them things where you walk outside and it just kind of took your breath. It was, I know it's dry heat, but I guess with all of the concrete and the asphalt, there seemed to be no air stirring. And when you walked out, it was just, it just hit you right in the face. But I still love Vegas, for the simple fact of just going to the different casinos. I'm not really a gambler, but I just like to check out all the architecture and how each casino and hotel is kind of like an attraction in itself. And the next thing on our trip, I wanted to take my mom and sister out to Red Rock Canyon. Absolutely love this place. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. Even if you do nothing but just drive the scenic loop around the park. I had the bright idea to rent a convertible because I thought, oh, it'll be so cool to see all the red rocks and stuff with the top down. Well, when it's 115 degrees and your rental car has red leather interior, it's interesting to say the least. We committed to it though. I was like, okay, you know what? We've got the convertible. We're driving this scenic loop. We're gonna tough it out. We may stick to the seats. We may feel like we're about to have a heat stroke, but as long as we're moving, there's 115 degree air hitting us in the face, we'll be just fine. So we drove around. We didn't do any hikes. My mom and my sister, they're not really hiking people. So we just drove around. We stopped at a couple of the little parking areas just to take in the different sceneries and stuff. We basically made just a whole day of driving around. We just rented the car for the one day because we had our car with us. And like I said, I thought the convertible would be a cool thing to take in, which it was. It would have probably been a little more enjoyable had the temperatures been about 20 degrees cooler. But nonetheless, it was a good time. And after we drove around Red Rock, I think I believe it's an 11 or 12 mile loop. So you can, take as long as you want if you stop at different places, or you can just drive the loop and be done with it. We went the last time, I can't remember what year it was, when it was just me and Matt, and we did a couple of short hikes, and it was definitely worth it. I would like to go back again and do some of the longer hikes because I'm sure that they're more rewarding because you obviously have to, work a little harder to get to the viewpoints. But yeah, like I said, if nothing else, drive the scenic loop just to check everything out. So after Red Rock, we drove out to Valley of Fire because I feel like it's a must-see too, especially when you're in Vegas because it's like 45, 50-minute drive from Vegas. Still had the top down, of course. At this point, I think it's 115, 116 degrees. The rocks were hot to touch, but I'm all about capturing some, pictures of your experiences just so you have them to look back on. Valley of Fire is like Red Rock to me. They have a scenic loop. If you don't do any of the hikes, at least drive the loop just to take it in. It's almost like you're on another planet to me. It just kind of feels like you're driving around on Mars or something. We didn't do any of the hikes. We did pull off at one little spot, and me and Matt got out and we just walked to the little overlook. They stayed in the car. We did put the top up and turn the air conditioning on just to give them a little bit of a break from the heat. But there were signs they had posted. Some of the trails were actually closed because it was so hot. And they had signs that was like, stop. It's, basically saying it's so hot that, you could die if you don't, have water with you and take care of yourself out in this heat. So that pretty much, we were kind of like, okay, this is a sign to, not do any kind of hikes. Plus, my mom and sister, they weren't having it because it was so hot. And I think after we did the little walk, I want to say that when we put the top back up on the car, we left it up for the rest of the drive around through here. Because like I said, it was so hot. And where the seats were leather in the car, it was almost like it was just baking you. But it was beautiful. And then we drove out from Valley of Fire. I don't really remember the road, but we kind of drove out like in the Lake Mead area, and then over to Hoover Dam just to kind of see it real quick. There was nobody there, basically. I think there was just 3 or 4 cars. Again, I'm sure it was because of the sweltering heat. This right here was when we were driving out to the Lake Mead area. They were just in the road. It was like they just wanted some attention. The one kept inching a little bit closer and closer. I'm pretty sure it probably would have let you pet it. But I was like, no, I ain't doing it, because you see videos all the time. People try to interact with wildlife and it doesn't work out too well for them. And then this was at the Hoover Dam. Like I said, we just drove out there. We parked, walked down just to kind of take it all in, and then we headed back. I did stop and get a couple of drone shots just of the Lake Mead area. I thought it was pretty cool. And then after that, we drove the rental car back to the owner, because it was like a personal rental, like a luxury car rental website or something like that. So we took it back, turned it in, and got our car back. And at that point, we were all just glad to have air conditioning that worked well, because even with the air conditioning blowing in a convertible, it still didn't cool it like it normally would. And then this right here, this is when we got back after we'd turned the rental car in. We wanted something to do indoors with air conditioning, of course, to get away from the heat. I thought it was just a really cool experience. You just kind of walked through. There was all these different I guess exhibits or art installations. Some of it was kind of interactive. And then they had an area where it was like you were in a grocery market, like a supermarket, and it was like all alien related stuff, extraterrestrial. Everything had its own little names and labels, and then there was like freezers with secret doors that took you back. It was a really neat experience. And this is my mom just being silly in the little area where they had, just kind of eccentric clothes. And I was just having her try on all kinds of stuff just to be silly. And then we walked a little bit more of the strip once we got back done with everything. And then we headed back to the air conditioning and crashed for the day.